and life marches on. ... School and work were performed. I finished crafting the last life update email at work. Like, yeah, it's a minimum wage job, but also I get to do the work I would otherwise do at home while I'm there and get paid for it. So for this reason, I would take this minimum wage job over most others any day. Once I wrapped that up, I had a brief window in which to run. So I did that, and then I went straight to Monday night wherein D&D was played. Again, no comment on that, XD. I called with Joe on the way home, and we talked about the things. And then, once I got home, Grace was all angsty and had decided that because I had, quote, said that hanging out with people was too much work, that she didn't like me anymore. Like, oh my gosh, talk about a shallow reason to decide to not talk to me for like 3 days, and a poor reason to be irritated whenever I show up in her presence. Like, she even admitted it was a dumb reason, but that's how she felt. So I got the silent treatment. Rubs hands down his face. There are days, ... See, I would say my tolerance for feelers has increased radically in the last year. In fact, I would say it has grown into an appreciation. Feelers have lots of benefits. They're fun, they care, etc. But sometimes, when they just go and trust their feelings, even when they know they shouldn't and their feelings are baseless. I just don't understand, ... What part of trusting feelings you know aren't either sincere or true makes sense? Like, if I significantly erred or was unkind or actually did something, then okay, yeah, fair enough. Being mad is an acceptable response. But when you're just angsty and or upset and you turn that on me, it just feels terribly unfair. And it's not like Grace is the only one to do this. All the feelers do it at one time or another. And it goes both ways with both positive and negative import. Though I suppose the more mature ones do tend to vent their feelings by their respective, is this legit metric before expressing them, ... So I guess I was irked by an immature expression of being a feeler, not being a feeler per se. I don't get that one. Okay, fine. I just convinced myself. I don't dislike feelers, XD, but I guess what I'm getting at is I find the immature actions of feelers particularly off-putting because I just don't get what it's like to think like that. But I suppose if I apply my NI a bit, it's not hard to imagine being swept up in an emotion and just unleashing it on the nearest soft, fleshy body, ... NI is dumb. It gives me empathy for things I don't naturally understand and vicariously quells my seething rage. Isn't that odd? That having empathy for a person makes you not mad at them? I find this odd. After all, anger is the judgment you have been unjustly treated, so it's not like you were any less unjustly treated just because you now understand why they did what they did, ... Though I suppose it really takes the agency out of the agent when you have empathy, doesn't it? Like the difference in frame between, say, Grace, the agent, treated me unfairly, to Grace, the victim of a system which is her personality, issued forth actions that were unfair, is fairly vast. But even then, it would seem you should still be angry because you were still treated unjustly. But, on the contrary, lol, I feel Aquinas saying that, XD. Also, what I'm about to say is backed from some of Daniel Goleman's work. Ha! Look at that 4-year-old psychological knowledge coming into play. I literally have not recounted or remembered this fact for the last 4 years since I read it, but I nevertheless just remembered it. How awesome is that? I'm awesome, ... We really only get angry at agents. See, there was this study they, the inevitable them, did where they had people play this betting game on a computer where both sides put forth offers to split a communal pot of money such that each side could either ratify the other's bet or, you know what? The mechanics of this is too much to explain, and I'm already so far off track from actual life, I don't really need another tangent. So all that to say, there was a peer-reviewed psychological study where if people thought a computer program was being unfair to them, they didn't get mad. The angry parts of the brain didn't activate. But if they were told a person on a different computer was offering them these unfair offers, then they did get angry. So basically, I'm right. We are only mad at agents, and I know because science told me so. Hence, my theory is empathy de-angers us because we see people as emergent systems. If I had been abused as a child, horribly poor, starving, and discriminated against, etc., I too might have murdered Dude X, rather than agents per se. And thus, by striping people of their agenthood, we rid ourselves of the anger we feel toward them. But, assuming that's true, I have 2 thoughts. 1, that seems like a very FI way to empathize. So I wonder if it's different for FE users or if, lol, they're just not as naturally gifted at it. But otherwise, do the same thing. 2, ought we de-anger ourselves by de-agentifying the other? Because that seems kind of messed up, too, honestly. Like, it's kind of an affront to human dignity and whatever sort of freedom of will you ascribe to be like, oh, well, given thing 1, thing 2, and thing 3, you couldn't help but treat me unfairly. I'm not mad because you're just a cog in a machine X. So the fact that you turned around and it stabbed me in the soul isn't something I can really hold against you, ... Like, I'm not super comfortable with that. Hence, I have for all of you a task or request. I'm going to stop thinking about this now, but if someone could please find a way to reframe empathy such that it does not involve depersonalization, that would be fantastic. Also, find it and then tell me. Thanks. Okay, so the moral of the story is Grace was a grumpy bumpkin and got upset at me, and then I got upset for being upset with it, despite nothing to upset her. Doing nothing to upset her. However, I, of course, did not express that I was irked because, lol, that wouldn't have done any good. But I did journal about it furiously, XD. Also, the first emotion I've experienced in a while, so at least it kind of spiced life up a little bit. Wink. Because of my annoyed state, I decided to go work out, which helped a lot. And then, having resumed my placid emotional peace, I did cancer research for 2 hours and slept. Also, Grace and I are totally cool now, for those of you who care. She got over her emotional angst and realized I was not the problem, and hence we're good again, XD. The next day, I felt really sick in class, kind of like how I felt that one time I threw up because of my meds. So that was uncomfortable and nerve-wracking. However, I got over it, 3D printed some, gave glorious advice to Johanna in between classes, practiced singing with my professor. We each get like 20-minute one-on-one session, which is way too short a time to do anything useful. But he said I have a god-tier vocal range, so that was nice, XD. Once I got home, I read my cancer book, then attended class, after which I went over to Raintree, the gym Mom got the family a subscription to try and get registered, but they sent me away and said they couldn't do it, when they actually could, as I later figured out. So I got home, told Mom I couldn't register, to which she was like, yes, you can, go back. So I went back and got registered for realsy, XD. Honestly, I've been really liking the Raintree gym. They have this fancy scanner out right now where you can see like all your body stats, and it's super cool. I don't know how they get all this info just from sending an electrical pulse through your body, but it's pretty impressive. Plus, it's just great to have proof that I'm like big healthy for once, XD. Here, this is my results from when I first got scanned. So yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, once I got signed up for the gym, I then went back home and did FooTube with Grace for a bit before Benj came over and we played racquetball for like 2 hours. I won 3, lost 6, so he's still beating me handily. Once we got back from that, I was very tired. Racquetball is mega exhausting. And I did an infrared sauna while watching Nichijou with Grace, and I did some cancer reading before going to sleep. The next day, I had class, did some small stuff once I got home, packed up my meds, and got my blood drawn. Vitamin D is supposed to have a half-life of like 2 weeks in the body, but I didn't take any of my supplements, and I still had almost toxic levels of vitamin D. So that's a yike. Glad I waited to start taking it again until I saw my results, because if I just went off conventional wisdom, things could go bad, ... Otherwise, though, my labs are looking okay. My liver seems to be screaming, help me, at the top of its lungs, but otherwise, things look decent, XD. On the way back from that trip, I tried to mail Jordan a package only for them to quote me 70-something-ish bucks to send it to New Zealand, to which I was like, heck no! And hence, I did not mail it, and I'm currently trying to find a cheaper way. We'll see if that succeeds, XD. But yeah, I got back home, ate food as Dad and I talked, and we largely worked through our conflicting styles of interactions, and my hope is actually made progress. We'll see, but either way, it was the best conversation we've had in a while for sure. Right as that ended, Nessa showed up and we walked over to CSU and talked for like an hour or so. That was quite good. From there, I rested in a comfy chair, did the chocolate tea combo while reading dreary cancer research that took a few hours. Phew. Therefore, I did funame, and then I made nut mixes for the week. See, based on my genetic results and some general human data, I know how much I particularly need each essential nutrient to be a healthy boyo. So, with many, many, many iterations, I got AI to help me make this. A list of all my various nutrient needs and a min-max list of foods to fill all of them. It took ages to get this fine-tuned, but right now it's looking pretty darn good. Basically, if I eat these foods in the amount specified every day, I shall meet my nutrient needs. So I'm pretty excited. This actually is a revised version of the list that I was using for the first nut regime, but I figured I should give you all the updated list so you would want to, should you want to copy me. Though, depending on how you being you works, you'll probably have some different quantities needed in your case. So yeah, I've got all the materials in all the right quantities set to automatically order via Amazon, and it cost me about $400 a month total, which, don't get me wrong, is definitely a chunk, but lol, what can you do? I'm trying not to die, so it's worth it, XD. So yep, did that, then went to sleep. The next morning, I slept in, but once I did arise, I got to work summarizing my 146 pages of cancer notes. Zombie voice. So much reading. I didn't finish that, and yes, before you ask, I am too lazy and tired to attempt to do an actually convincing zombie voice, so that's just what you're going to get. I didn't finish that project in one sitting, because, lol, 146 pages. Hence, I took a break to make breakfast while listening to Personality Hacker. I then did funime as I ate said breakfast I made. Then it was back to the summarizing grind until the time came for me to attend a backyard concert Sydney had invited me to. Now, see, I'm not much of a music guy. Well, I mean, I am. I have like 63 very well-curated playlists of instrumental vibes and many a song I like. But see, I'm an enjoyer of music, not an aficionado, wink. But, as it happens, one of my pieces of homework for my music class is I have to listen to 3 solo voice things. And it just so happened that much of this backyard concert had a soloist. So I asked my voice professor guy, and he said it counted. So I was like, bet, and I went. Here's a picture of the happenings. It was kind of nice, actually. They sang like everything in a variety of foreign languages, so I understood basically none of the lyrics. But, lol, the music sounded good most of the time. However, it went on for ages past my appreciation threshold. So that was the only part that was a bit of a big oof. Once it wrapped, I then stuck around to help with the cleanup, which I did. 'Twas how I got in for free without paying for a ticket, thanks to Sydney, wink. And yeah, that took like an hour, so not bad. Then I whisked myself away into the Shrieking Phoenix. Once I got back home, I did more summarization work until I decided to take a break to work out, which I did. Then I did a brief Whole Foods run before returning home, doing an evening funime, and then summarizing some more until I finally finished at 10:30 that night. I always find it so rewarding to finish a task very refreshing. Task like that. To finish a task like that. Very refreshing. Then that night, since the parents were away, I did the dishes and then took a shower and did a big sleep. The next day, I had church, but the Myers and Myers adjacent were gone, hence the group was much smaller. Yet, that turned out to be quite fortunate, as it gave me the time to talk with Lydia, one of the LMT crew, and help her through something she was dealing with, as well as talk with Beth some. Both conversations were the big bueno. Those conversations might have gone longer had Grace not been antsy to leave, but since we carpooled, I obliged her. Once we got back to the house, it turned out Ben had returned from Switzerland, so I talked with him for a bit before doing funime. Then some cancer book reading and chocolate consumption occurred until Mom and Dad got back home. After that, I got scanned again at Raintree, and then Johanna and Benj texted me like, please, we need to SE, help us or we shall die. So I was like, fine, and I organized a game of Speed Seek XD. After the organization of the beautiful game, I ate food while watching the anime. All the people arrived. We had about 15 of us total, and Speed Seek got underway. Benj and I were the seekers, and we managed to catch 2 teams, but the other 2 evaded us. However, because of curfews, I realized, after telling people to go back to the house for another game, that we really had to just start a second one up right away if we wanted to get a second game underway. So, I tried to communicate that, but it didn't work. So, everyone ended up back at my house and dawdled until their curfews demanded they depart. After that, though, Peter was still down to keep playing, hence, with the aid of Nessa, we decorated him in the residual glow sticks and made his body a glowing piece of art. Peter and I then played 2 speed stick rounds. The first one, I got Peter in like 15 minutes because he sent me a very distinct picture of an architectural feature I was familiar with. But the second one took like 50 minutes or something. And that's not because I didn't find him, it's just he was so freaking fast. See, the benefits of rollerblades, if they're big, speedy, but there's a limit to what corners you can turn at that speed. Hence, Peter would take advantage of this fact and actually lose me. I've never had anyone be as good as he was at losing me in this game. However, there may have been mild cheating in regards to that skill set, but we'll look over it for the sake of interesting gameplay. Overlook it. Wink. Hee. Here is a picture of said mild cheating, and when I finally found him that second round. It was honestly really fun, though. I enjoyed those one-on-one rounds. We talked as we walked back to the house, and then for like an hour after we got back. It was an interesting conversation, but at the tail end, I was like, my guy, I need to sleep. Hence, we parted ways, and I did that. The following morning, I attended class, did work, during which I got homework done, as well as set up my Amazon shipments for Eternal Nuts. Did you know their subscribe and save model gives you up to 15% off the product price? Wow, I just genuinely wrote that sentence, and rereading it sounds so advertising, XD. Anyway, I think it's great, and it's making me pay $150 less every month-ish. So it's worth getting excited about, XD. After that, I got back home before traveling to Monday nights, playing Magic, watching some Blue Lock, coming back home, and reading my cancer book for like 2 hours, then going to sleep. Tuesday, I had classes, and then I covered my coworker's shift, which I'm always happy to do because it literally just means I get paid to do what I would do otherwise anyway. Like write this life update email, which is the actual situation I'm in right now, XD. Work is actually so quiet, ... So yeah, covered for them, during which I refined all my previously set up Amazon shipments so that I found the frequency and timing of the shipments that would yield me the correct quantity of nuts and dried fruits, such that I would have the proper amounts for my nut boxes, or at least as close as possible. In other words, I did cool math to optimize things. Wink. See, this is the one nice thing about being an engineer, is I genuinely know how to apply my math skills to real life to get cool and useful results. Wink. Anyway, min-max that. Then I did homework before working on this life update. Once work ended, I then took a brief respite at home before going practice my singing, and I figured out if I try and place my voice either in my nose or in the back of my throat, I didn't sing off key. So I don't know why that is, but lol, it might help me not to sound as bad. Upon listening to myself in a soundproof room, I've realized just how much I'm off when I sing normally, and it is painful. I'm sorry to all you musical people whose ears I've scarred over the years. Not sorry enough to stop doing it because singing casually is fun, but, my small amount of regret has got to count for something, XD. Like, I'm off key pretty often when I sing normally, but again, not when I do the nasal or back of the throat singing. If someone could explain why this is to me, I would be very interested to know this info, ... Anyway, the point is, I think I learned how to sing better before I attended dance class, wherein I was ... something, but not majestic, mind you, XD. Once I got home from that, I did funame with Grace and Katie before then going to play racquetball with Benj, which was fun, except we played doubles, and these two old guys, and our playing got noticeably worse. It was weird. It's like we played down to their level instead of doing better. It was dumb, XD. Both Benj and I agree that 1v1 racquetball is much better than doubles. Once I got home from that, I then talked with Grace for a bit and then hit the sack. Wednesday was my usual morning class, and then, after doing my funame, I received the first part of my Amazon shipment, which included goji berries that were very stuck together. Hence, in all my knowing wisdom of all things food, which I very much have, I decided the best way to break them up was to blend them. Oh my gosh, such a mistake. Not only did they become so much more sticky upon being blended, but they also clogged up the blender, so I would have to try and scoop this very viscous goji berry mush out every 5 minutes. Blended goji berries have the consistency of Rice Krispies, but are 10 times more difficult to pull apart. Like trying to unclog that blender and wrench the stupid berry mush free took literally all my strength and would bend the butter knives when I tried to use them for leverage. It was just the worst. But I finished what I start, so I spent the next hour or so blending goji berries. However, after I finished blending the first bag, I vowed to never do that again and sought out another way. And, as it turns out, female parents are very wise. And she said, smash it with a hammer. So, that's what I did, and it worked great. It took me like 3 minutes and was so much better than my blending idea, XD. Once I got all my goji berries handled, I then made nut bags for the next week or so based on the previously designed regime. Oh, and then I got my fancy Magic Commander sleeves in the mail, which actually looks so good. But lol, I'm writing this at work, so I can't take a picture of them to include in this email, which is a big sad. But such is life, ... After that, David arrived at my house and we walked over to the CSU gym to work out. We both ran alongside each other on treat mills, and the peer pressure helped me make a pretty good time. Then we walked back, yapped a bit, and eventually he departed, and I called Jordan and caught up with him while I ate. That was a good yarn. Once I finished that, I had the urge to build a magic deck. So I did, but that meant I ended up staying up way too late. So that was a touch sad. But, lol, I made a good deck, so hashtag worth it in a Valley Girl voice. Nah, not doing that. Although Grace informs me school is the new Valley Girl. Schoolgirl is the new Valley Girl, so I don't know. Maybe I'm out of touch with reality these days, XD. The next morning, I decided to skip class, and I slept until noon. I then did my singing homework by singing before doing some funime and then reading my cancer book with chicory root tea. Chicory root tea is part of my complete nutrient profile, but LOL, it's kind of hard to put in things since it has such a strong flavor. Hence the tea. It's not bad, actually. From there, I danced. Then I worked out. And while working out, I listened to Mistborn via Micah's generous sharing of his Audible. And I got so enthralled that I worked out for like 15 minutes after I was about to go home just because I wanted to hear what happened next. And I've made it a rule, I can only listen to the audiobook while working out, as it makes the whole process much more pleasant and provides me incentive. Wink. Once I got back home, I did Funime Round 2, built a second deck while listening to Pints with Aquinas, which was actually very interesting for once. I don't listen to Pints very much anymore, as it is strayed away from deep philosophical topics and is now much more random. But this particular episode was an interview with a girl that gender transitioned to being a guy with full hormone replacement and surgery, and then regretted it and transitioned back to being a girl. It was a very interesting story and gave me a whole new perspective on gender dysphoria and not only how that works externally, but also the mental process of someone who undergoes it. I think it definitely increased my empathy for people in that area, ... But yep, made another magic deck. I then read and did more chocolate. See, while yes, you do get the peanut butter cups at a significant discount if you buy $100 worth at a time, the problem I didn't anticipate was I'm having a lasagna 2.0 experience over here, XD. I think I would like to eat anything but chocolate peanut butter cups with my tea, but I still have like 5 tea bags left. And then, because I spontaneously felt like it, I went on a late night rollerblade. Here's the route I took. It was a nice blade. I just listened to music the whole time and enjoyed the night. Very peaceful. I got back and went to sleep at 1. Friday, I did class, went to work, spent a good chunk of time applying for this chunky cancer scholarship, which I won't know if I got till next year, but lol, got an NI plan for my future, am I right? XD. I then played racquetball with benj and got absolutely destroyed. I lost literally all 7 games we played. And once I came back home, defeated and deeply dejected, I proceeded to finish the anime I was watching too. So clearly I have a very hard life, ... After finishing Vinland Saga and eating, I then briefly read my book before John, Neo, and Sydney all showed up at my house, and we piled into the Phoenix and went stargazing up at the usual close spot. It was a fantastic night for stars. Perfectly clear sky and no moon, so you could just see so many. Actually one of the best stargazing nights I've ever done, at least in terms of stars. As for the conversation, it was okay, ... We got to hear about John's romantic happenings, which was interesting, but not really deep. And then I got to hear the recounting of Neo's love confession and Sydney's response, which I had heard before but was still entertaining. So yeah, nothing that scratches my existential itch, but a chill night. I also tried to purposely stop that night and just enjoy the moment for what it was. Like, how cool is it that I have friends that will just lay on a rug, yeah, my tarp was murdered because it was covered in oil, hence we brought up a rug, XD, and just look at the stars. More than that, though, how cool is it to have friends I'm comfortable enough with and established enough with that I feel zero pressure to socially perform and I can just relax in their presence, ... I think that's pretty cool, and I thought so in the moment, too, so I just tried to take in the moment instead of letting my mind wander to what things I would do later, as it so often does, XD. And I was successful for like 2 hours, but after that, yeah, my NI started going burr. Only got so much SE juice in me, I'm afraid, XD. The next day, I woke up, built my pillboxes for the week, and then proceeded to drive over to Micah's house, where he was kind enough to host what I deemed the ESFJ talk. Basically, I summoned the 3 socially relevant ESFJs and was like, all right, here's how you be healthy. And then I told them all the valuable type information and how they could form an unstoppable trio. Is giving them this power in my best interest long term? Not so sure, but is it good for them by doing a noble thing? Most definitely. Hence, I did it, wink. Here is a picture that was taken of me, among others, which we are very much not sharing at this time, XD, during said ESFJ talk. And I can't believe I'm doing this, but here are the quotes as recorded by our resident ESFJ that are taken way out of context. But I'm including them anyway, because they peer pressured me into it. XD. I will always engage in conflict. You don't have to worry about decimating each other's souls. What are you going to yeet each other for? If you yeet each other for anything, it would be for being jerks. I don't like poisoning people. Share your poison. Time is not natural. You are all idiots. Oh, give me a burden, please. That was flattering. Phew. There. You have now sampled the ESFJ talk against my better judgment, XD. Once Micah got loopy, he was cooked, XD. We then devolved into games, and it was actually really fun. We played some Brawlhalla, which I haven't played in ages, as well as this weird cooking game. Yeah, I'm not seeing the appeal there, ... And just some other random things until the time passed sufficiently that Micah had cause to make us leave. So we did. Once I got home from that, I entered into a productive Zen state to recharge myself after all the FE. You would think people being kind and considerate couldn't drain me, but it actually does, XD. I need conflict and deep existential thought. I need achievement. Without these things, what is life but a hollow, empty shell of nothingness? After recharging, I then did Funime, infrared sauna while talking with Grace, and then slept. Sunday, I attended church, socialized, played some Magic, which was the fun, carpooled with Joe to the Bowen's house, where I started our new Curse of Strahd mini campaign, and Joe's and my characters are actually the best. XD. And that was fun. Then I went home and enjoyed some Funime before driving to Wellington to play some Murder in the Dark with the LMT people. We also briefly stargazed as we listened to Sam's rap rendition of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Yeah. XD. And then I went home, did some cancer research, and slept. The next morning, I arose to the tutelage of weak-minded men. I then worked for the Burgese until the eve. However, I did get to work on this life update while being robbed of the rights of my labor, so I would say that, contra Marx, I shall not be joining in the revolution, for I quite like being a slave to the capitalist system. (D). However, I ended up leaving work early, doing trivial things once I got home, and then going for a run in the beautiful fall weather. I made 7:30. I'm supposed to say 7.3 miles. I'm going to read it as I made 7.3 miles, so not a bad pace, too. I made a 7-minute and 30-second mile. I get it. Okay, I made 7-minute and 30-second miles, so not a bad pace, too. I then attended Monday night carpooling with you and Sydney, got to play my new decks, which was big fun, and then that was the day. The next day, after classes, I spent like an hour and a half processing the emotions I'd been ignoring and that were starting to bug me. It's almost like my homework having inferior FI, ... You have to periodically be like, all right, fine, and then stare inside, feel all the things, process it, and then you're good again. It's like changing your emotional oil, XD. So yeah, did that. Then I sang badly in front of my class. Shivers at the memory. Did Funime, stalled for 30 minutes, and had a rare episode of wasted time. Danced, did Funime round 2, and then I actually felt better emotionally for real. Sometimes this just happens. Like, you do the work, feel the same, and the benefits hit later. I don't know why this is. Emotions are more confusing than quantum physics, I assure you, XD. From there, I proceeded to play racquetball with benj and did better than last time, but still lost 7 out of 8 games. Though these were mostly all like less than 5-point losses, except for one game. One game I would rather not recall as it was so bad, XD. I then began to start planning Grace's birthday celebration before watching Nichijou with her as I infrared sauna'd. The next morning was Grace's birthday, but the day started out pretty average. I did school Funime, and then drank green tea as I read. However, after that, Ben came and gifted Grace a flower Lego set, which I promptly built for her. That was actually so much fun, XD. I miss Lego. And then Noah and Katie came over, and we had a brief excursion to a local coffee shop, in which I started playing Noah in chess, but we didn't get to finish because Katie had to get to a liturgy. But I was very much losing, gave myself way too big of a handicap, and Noah was much better than I remembered him being. Once they left, Benj arrived, and then the four of us, me, Benj, Ben, and Grace, journeyed to this super cool cave/tunnel thing Brandon knows of. Like, actually so cool. Check this out. All right, pictures. The water was so cold, but we toughed it out and our feet just went numb, XD. Also, we went all the way to the end, but didn't technically leave the other side. Where I just lost my place. Leave the other side because the bottom of the pipe was rusting and Benj and Ben were in bare feet. Hence, mucho tetanus, XD. But still, we basically went from one side to the other. There was even this part in the middle with little baby stalactites. Again, actually so cool. By far one of the coolest, most memorable things I have done in the last few months. Also, on our way back, we sang Shotgun with the cave resonance, and it was great, XD. Literally, as soon as we got back, we grabbed the food Mom and Dad had packed for us and raced to the Myers house, where Grace and I barely made it on time for her own party, XD, but lol, everyone else was late, so it didn't matter. We then waited and small-talked as all the people arrived, but once they did, a cooking competition got underway. We went into 2 teams and did the shopping and purchasing of items, though I can't remember, were we each getting our own eggs or sharing them? And then once we got back, we cooked our respective cookies. Here's some pictures. Oh yeah, Karina joined my team, wink. Honestly, that part was fantastic. The vibe was peak, like one of the best vibes yet experienced, and just a ton of fun. I really enjoyed that. Eventually, we wound down and people trickled away. But before the night ended, I challenged Benj to a game of chess, and get this, I won! Oh yeah, baby! To be fair, he was playing pretty casually, so it's not like I beat Benj at his best. But still, to beat Benj at all is an achievement. It's been quite some time since I accomplished such, XD. So yeah, that felt great and competed with the baking vibe for the highlight of the night, wink. Finally, as for yesterday, I got to baby sleep in. I then finally got to my end-college-y appointment. Like, actually, I scheduled this thing literally 3 months ago. And the lady was actually pretty cool. Nevertheless, and I should have realized this before I went into it, but she's a hormone doctor, so I had a much more full examination than I anticipated. But I was committed at that point, and it honestly wasn't too awkward. Honestly, she was a pretty cool doctor. I felt like she actually listened to me and respected my thoughts, which is a pretty novel doctor experience for me these days. XD. Hence, it was good. Interestingly, my hormones have largely stabilized since I started being very healthy. But she's going to test me with some advanced tests just in case there is some pathology that has caused my hormone imbalances in the past. So, yep, did that, got back home and read a tiny bit before it just so happened Dad, Mom, and Grace were all around at the same time and free. So I decided to take the opportunity to explain their genetic results to them. Hee. And I had them take notes, XD. Once that wrapped up, Emerson came over and we caught up briefly before I then had to head to dance, about which I got many majestical. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. About which I got many majestical teasing comments. For some reason being called, majestical. Okay, for some reason being called majestic has tickled the feeler's funny bones, because she is not the only one that has teased me about this, XD. Once I got home from that, I had a brief break, worked out, did funime, and then Jake came over and we talked on the front porch for a bit before then going on a lengthy night walk, which was peak. Interestingly, Jake doesn't drain me anymore, and I actually felt quite rejuvenated after that conversation. That's curious. I wonder what changed since I first met him, ... But yeah, it was a super nice night with good stars. We actually stopped and looked at them for a bit at one point on our walk. And yeah, just good conversation with somebody I deeply enjoy. So overall, tasty, well worth it. Finally, as for yesterday I did school, work, tried looking at joining a volleyball league. We'll see if that goes anywhere. Went on a 2-hour or so walk with Johanna in the beautiful weather, ate food, and explained her genetic results to her once we got back. Played some racquetball with Benj, which I won 2 of 5 games, and they were all quite close, but that's not much of an achievement as his blood sugar was quite low. Hence, I was playing a handicapped Benj. Then Grace and Johanna joined us at Raintree for a meh hot tub experience because old people were there. So yeah, the last bit kind of sucked, but the rest of the hangout was good. Then that night, I just watched some Nichijou with Grace as I ate and then went to sleep. And that was the day. All right, that's the latest and greatest life update. Later.